This is what 15% body fat for guys and 23% for women looks like with top-tier elite genetics. And this is what those exact same numbers look like with perfectly average genetics. On social media, influencers use their 1% physique to sell you their cookie-cutter workout and diet plan. But is that physique from their methods, or is it from winning the genetic lottery? Also, if you have average genetics and run their cookie-cutter program, can you get anywhere near the same results? Your genetics dictates your metabolism, your fat loss, and how much muscle and how fast muscle you can potentially build. People treat average genetics like it's a curse, like it's the worst thing that you can experience. But average genetics, honestly, it just means you're in a game of trade-offs. I have average genetics, always struggle to put on muscle, but my metabolism is extremely fast. You might be the complete opposite though. You don't need elite genetics to look incredible. You just need a focused strategy. You need to put your strong parts on autopilot and allocate that time rather on your weaker parts. This will make the process more sustainable, and this is also what's going to give you the best long-term results. In this video, I'm showing you visual examples of how genetics impact fat loss, metabolism, and your muscle building potential. I'll show you how to identify your specific genetical strength and weakness, tell you what exactly you need to focus on based on your genetics. So let's get into it. So let's talk about how genetics actually impact fat loss, especially belly fat. If you spend more than 5 seconds on Instagram or look at the cover of a fitness magazine, you probably think that a six-pack is the ultimate metric of health, and that you can also have a ripped six-pack if you just lose enough weight. That is not guaranteed because it all depends on your genetics. Shout out to James Smith. I'll use him as an example here.
And I've got a bit of a weird body, but it's not actually even weird. It's actually quite normal. But I'm about 11% body fat. The last time I did a DEXA, I actually had more body fat than this. I was about 11.2%.
Six-pack abs generally shows for men anywhere between 10 to 20% body fat. For women, it's 18 to 28%. And that is a huge range. Where you end up on that spectrum is mostly down to your genetics. James, he says he's around 11% body fat according to the DEXA scan, the golden standard, but his six-pack still doesn't show because of his genetics. When you lose weight, you have no control over where your body decides to lose fat. That is up to your genetics. For James, it seems like his legs and arms loses fat first, and the belly is probably one of the last places to lose fat for him. He probably need to be at least 10% body fat, I reckon, for his abs to show. Meanwhile, for someone else, abs might pop at 20% body fat. But James' cases is very common, and you should know this. Losing body fat will make you feel great, regardless where you lose it first, whether it's your arms or your belly or your ass cheeks, benefits are the same. The more body fat you lose, the better you feel. Your hormone will improve. You have more energy, better libido, less inflammation, lower risk of cardiovascular disease. You'll get healthier and healthier the more fat you lose until you reach your optimal zone. For men, I believe the optimal zone is somewhere between 15 to 20% body fat. For women, 23 to 28%. I call it the optimal zone because that should be the focus when losing fat. Going leaner than that often leads to sleep getting worse, testosterone dropping, worse hormone profile. For women, it can mess with your menstrual cycle. Energy levels tanks, cortisol shoots up, it can mess with your appetite, and your immune system can get compromised, making you more prone to getting sick. This is very common side effect when you get too lean, when you have too low body fat. And if you have good belly fat genetics, meaning your body prefers to drop belly fat when losing fat, don't need to spend 20 minutes doing crunches at the end of every workout. Your abs will naturally become visible when you're at your optimal zone. And you should take advantage of that. Instead of doing 20 minutes of crunching at the end of every workout, you should skip that, spend that time rather on muscle parts that are less visible for you. If you have bad belly fat genetics, like your belly fat refuses to leave, I would still not recommend go beyond the optimal zone based on potential negative health effect. And here's the thing, even if you train abs consistently, there's still a good chance that your abs might not pop, and that is just not your fault, because that also comes down to genetics. It comes down to muscle insertions. But here's the good news. You don't need a six-pack to look good shirtless. Look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Because of his genetics, he physically cannot get a six-pack. It doesn't matter how low his body fat gets. People look at The Rock and think he looks great. And you know why? Because he built the rest of the house. For guys, if you are at your optimal zone, you look good regardless with visible abs or not, as long as you're carrying muscle other places. And it's sort of the same for women. You don't need to be toned or have vertical ab lines to make your ex regret his life choices.
See them? Oh my God. They're fucking...
Even if your genetic ones allow your abs to pop, it's not a limiting factor for looking great. Your goal should simply get down to 15% body fat, 23 if you're a woman. At those levels, you'll drop unhealthy visceral fat. Your face also starts leaning out. Your energy spikes, and as long as you build some muscle underneath, you'll look great. You look better than 95% of the population. Also, here's a crazy statistic for you. Only 8% of the population have visible six-pack. Statistically speaking, it's actually more common to be a millionaire than having shredded abs. But here's the thing, guys. Whether you lose fat from your belly or your arms doesn't really matter if you can't get the scale to move in the first place. Which brings me to the next genetic factor, your metabolism.
And shortly after high school, I was probably eating 8,000 to 10,000 calories a day because I was losing so much weight.
We all have a friend who eats everything but never gains weight. Meanwhile, some of us gain a pound just by sniffing a chocolate bar. So, what's the difference? Is it genetics? Look at this massive 2022 studies published in the journal Science. They measured the metabolism of over 6,000 people. And when looking at two persons who weighed the exact same at 80 kilos, 176 pounds, the difference there is mind-blowing. The person with the slowest metabolism at that weight burned just 1,400 calories daily. Person with the fastest metabolism at that exact same body weight burned 5,700 calories a day. That means one guy has to starve on 1,400 calories just to not gain weight, while the other guy can eat 5,000 calories and still lose fat. And by the way, if you have no idea of how many calories your own body naturally burns daily, use the free macro calculator in the link in the description. It's a macro calculator, but it also tells you exactly how many calories you burn based on your metrics and your lifestyle. Anyways, if you have slow metabolism, is it then because of your genetics, or is it other things? That's when we gotta look at this study, which measures your basal metabolic rate, the calories you burn just by doing nothing. The difference in this study between the genetically worst and genetically best metabolism is only 300 to 400 calories. That is a lot less than the other study where the difference is 4,000 calories that separated the person with the fastest metabolism and the person with the slowest metabolism. It shows that the difference between the person with the slowest metabolism and the person with the fastest metabolism isn't genetics. And you can see it when you compare us to your grandparents. In the 1970s, obesity was rare back then. But right now, obesity rates have skyrocketed. Today, 70% of Americans are either overweight or obese. Back then, it was rare. And our genetics, compared to our grandparents in the 70s, haven't changed much. But you know what have changed though? What changed is that we now sit at a desk on Zoom calls for 9 hours a day, and we get 2,000 calories of hyper-palatable food delivered straight to our door with the tap of a button. The truth is, the biggest impact on your metabolism isn't your baseline genetics, it's your lifestyle. Do you know why Italians have the lowest rates of overweight people in Europe? Even though they're among the countries with the lowest gym membership rates in Europe, Italians, they're lean because they walk everywhere. NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, it matters way more than the calories you burn in the gym, and even more than your resting metabolism, which is fully influenced by your genetics. I actually have this hypothesis that I think Italians have so high NEAT because they use a lot of hand gestures.
L'entità Kameramann Antonio Margheriti und Antonio's Kameraassistent Dominique de Cocco.
There's a reason why walking is known as the king of fat loss. It's because that friend with fast metabolism doesn't magically have DNA that burns more calories. He's just less sedentary. And you see this with siblings all the time. Like, look at Jeff Nippert and his brother. That's the exact same genetics, two completely different metabolism. So how do you actually use this information that I just gave you? And are you screwed if you have slow metabolism? Obviously, you're not screwed, because slow metabolism, meaning that you gain weight easily, you struggle to lose weight, it's not because of your genetics that many people like to blame, it's because your NEAT is basically zero.
What are you talking about? Your wrestling is zero. Your grappling is zero. I'm gonna mow you.
Let's wrestle, kid.
Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle.
Let's wrestle.
6 October. Let's wrestle.
You have to consciously force the movement. Aim for 6 to 10,000 steps a day and track them. And here's an advantage if you have slow metabolism. With slow metabolism, you often put on muscle easier because you're not always in a calorie deficit. Being in a calorie deficit is horrible if you want to build muscle. You can literally just lift 2 times a week and add muscle, which is almost impossible with someone with fast metabolism. Because if you have fast metabolism, known as the classical hard gainer, one of the biggest challenges for people with fast metabolism is that they struggle not to be in a calorie deficit. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body looks for energy from fat, but also from muscle. And it can start burning from the muscle. That's why people with fast metabolism struggle to put on muscle, because it's a constant battle between your body taking away the muscle and you adding muscle. For people with fast metabolism, the benefit here is you don't have to watch your step count because you're already moving a lot without realizing it. Instead, use that energy to have a couple extra resistance sessions per week. You need more session than someone with slow metabolism to build the muscle. But once you put in the work and that muscle finally starts growing, how much muscle can you actually add? And how fast can you actually do it? Contrary to fast and slow metabolism, your genetics have complete control over how much muscle mass you can put on naturally. And the range is pretty big. It's between 30 to 70 pounds for men, and for women, the range is between 15 to 30 pounds. Let's say this is your starting point. 200 pounds at 24% body fat as a man, or 140 pounds at 32% body fat as a woman. If you have completely average genetics, your lifetime ceiling is adding about 45 pounds of muscle as a guy or 20 pounds as a woman. But here is what you actually look like. When you add that maximum muscle, you don't look shredded, you just look bigger. The difference isn't that crazy. And this is where people get it entirely wrong. Let's say you draw the short end of the stick and you have the worst genetics possible. Your absolute ceiling is only 30 pounds as a guy, 15 pounds as a woman. It actually doesn't matter, because 45 pounds of muscle and 30 pounds of muscle look exactly the same if it's covered in a layer of fat. Maxing out your genetic ceiling will make you look incredible. Shredding the fat to show the muscle, once you finally lean down into that optimal zone, you realize a massive truth. You actually need way less muscle than you think to look good. Look at baseball players, soccer players, combat sports athletes, off camp. This kind of physique is already more than what most people in the gym would be happy with. And these guys, they don't train to pack on as much muscle as possible. They actually avoid putting too much muscle because it could hinder their athletic ability. They're nowhere near their maximum ceiling. Most of them have only added 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. And here's the best part. Adding those 15 to 20 pounds of muscle, it happens incredibly fast. If you're consistent, the vast majority of the muscle you gain will happen within 6 to 12 months. Here's an example of what my client have been able to achieve during that time frame. That time frame is called the newbie phase, and it's incredibly fun because you see body changes almost every single week. But here's the thing, after newbie gains, it gets exponentially harder because building muscle have massive diminishing returns. You have to spend way more time in the gym, be way more strict with your diet, and train twice as hard to squeeze out marginally gains. Honestly, for the average person, trying to reach 100% of your natural ceiling is a complete waste of time. Unless you're planning to step on stage in fake tan, in a string, so you can impress a bunch of other dudes, not call it gay and call it bodybuilding, then you don't have to worry about your natural ceiling.
Y'all like bodybuilders?
Bodybuilders? Yeah. I like skinny, scrawny guys.
How about talented? How about loving and respectful? And I run a 6-minute mile. My testimony, I'm nothing but pure, and you like scrawny guys.
So how do you use this information I just gave you? Well, if you have bad muscle building genetics, which means you have a lower ceiling, you're a slow responder, do not get discouraged. Even with the worst genetic ceiling, you are still able to pack easily 10 to 15 pounds of muscle within the first year if you're consistent. Just grab those easy newbie gains. Stop obsessing over getting huge. Rather focus on getting down to that optimal zone, like around 15% body fat. Slicing off the fat will make those 15 pounds you gain look twice as big. If you have good muscle building genetics, here's the benefit. You pack the muscle easily. You can actually stay on at the higher end of the optimal zone, closer to 20%, and still look lean and aesthetic because you carry a lot of muscle. Take advantage of that. You don't have to cut as much weight. Your muscle comes naturally. You don't need to win the genetic lottery to build a top 5% physique. You don't need to be a bodybuilder. You just need 20 pounds of muscle, 10 pounds if you're a woman, and you need to lean down to actually reveal the muscles you have. If you want to see exactly what that looks like, how you could potentially look at different body fat percentage based on the amount of muscle you carry, you can watch this video. And if you want to skip the guesswork, work with me one by one. I'll get you a custom fat loss system around your specific genetics, and I offer guaranteed results. So if you're not happy with what you'll achieve with me, you get the money back, no question asked. That's the second link. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay healthy, keep driving, and I hope I see you over there maybe. Peace.